Well, the lifting of the state of emergency had already been proposed by the cabinet actually a few weeks ago. It was now approved by the Ethiopian parliament. The government declared the state of emergency while Tigrayan forces were advancing in the Amhara region towards the capital, Addis Ababa. They were stopped about 200 kilometers from the city, and the lifting of the state of emergency comes as Tigrayan forces have largely retreated to the Tigray region last December. As such, the state of emergency didn't have any major impacts, for example, on the movement of people across the country, but it did have huge impacts on Tigrayan populations, especially in the capital, Addis Ababa. There have been massive arrests and searches without any warrants or any trials. So rights organizations are hoping, first of all, that the lifting of the state of emergency will decrease the human rights abuses across the country. As for the conflict, well, it's too early to say whether the conflict will or not be finished now. I mean, there's still fighting going on. For example, in the Afar region, this is another region neighboring the Tigray region, and there's still a severe humanitarian crisis going on in Tigray. Although there are no ground combats on the ground in Tigray at the moment, there have been airstrikes observed by the Ethiopian Air Force over the past weeks and months. So we'll have to see whether mediation efforts by the African Union, by the United States, are starting to bear results, or whether fighting will continue in the weeks to come.
Maria, what is the situation like for the Tigrayans now in their day-to-day lives?
Well, as I said, during the state of emergency, there had been thousands of arrests, mainly in the capital, Addis Ababa. A lot of Tigrayans were taken without being given any reason. Their families didn't know where they were. They were taken to detention centers. Some have been released. For some, we still don't know where they are. And there's still a lot of fear among the Tigrayan population, at least in Addis Ababa. And then there's also, of course, the Tigray region, where things are still unfolding behind closed doors. Humanitarian aid is only trickling in now recently via the airspace, but there are still no trucks going into Tigray. No journalists are allowed into Tigray. All we know is that there is severe malnutrition in Tigray, particularly for children, and that we don't know how the situation will evolve for the population there in the coming weeks.
All right, Maria, thanks for that. Maria Gerth-Niculescu reporting for us from Addis Ababa.